The harsh truth is, most of you suck at studying. You sink hours and hours into your textbook, but you don't see any progress at all, and you lose your mental health along the way. And to be honest, I don't blame you at all. Nobody teaches us how to study, and we're just expected to know it somehow. And on top of all of this, we have so many other things that we need to do in our life. We have to exercise, we have our hobbies, we have our friends. So we have to somehow juggle all these things around as well as maintaining a good grade. Trust me when I say this, I know exactly how you feel. I live an hour and a half away from school, so I have to wake up very early to get to school, and by the time I'm back home, it's already 6 p.m. And if I want to get a good 8 hours of sleep, I have time only from 6 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. to do everything. So exercise, shower, and dinner already takes 2.5 hours away. So now I'm left with 2 hours to rest, to keep in touch with friends, to spend on my hobbies, and to study. So at the end, I only have about an hour every day to spend on studying. So in this video, I will be telling you what I do both inside and outside that 1 hour. We're gonna go over all of these things, so make sure you stick around until the end. Note-taking is such an underrated thing that most people overlook. The way you take notes in class has a massive effect on your grades, but sadly most people do it wrong. Because with proper note-taking techniques, you will already remember everything that you hear in your class, and you don't even need that 1 hour to review at home. So let's get started with the basics. There are two types of note-taking. There's linear note-taking and non-linear note-taking. What most students do for their notes is they list down whatever they hear in sort of a chronological order. So their notes will be arranged in bullet points, separated into chapters and topics, and it will be kind of like the syllabus page of a textbook. On the other hand, non-linear note-taking is where your notes are not arranged in any format. So everything is just kind of floating around, and you're drawing arrows and you're making connections, and everything is just messier. Now, as crazy as it sounds, non-linear note-taking is much more effective than linear note-taking. So if you want to remember everything you hear in a class, your notes should look like a big diagram. You should have arrows and connections, because when you try to remember your notes, it will be as if you were in a house, and you're able to walk through different sections and areas of the house because you have those connections. I have a full video explaining how I remember everything I hear in a class, so if you want to check it out, I will paste a link in the description. Another thing you need to know about note-taking is less is more. So when you're inside your classroom, you should try not to take notes. You should try to understand and process the information that you're hearing first, and as soon as it gets too much, then you offload it into the paper. So you should aim to use your notes as an extension of your brain rather than a replacement. So a thing that I like to do in class is to completely close my notes in the beginning. I would make eye contact with the teacher, and I would try to understand what they're saying to me and process it in my brain. Now, as soon as this gets too much and I start losing track of things, that's when I open my notes and I take them. Again, I have a full video on this, so if you want to know how to remember everything that you hear in a class and cut down the majority of your revision time, then I highly recommend watching this video. If you want to save even more time, then a useful thing you can do is to categorize your homework. So I have two categories. There's homework that needs a computer, and there's homework that doesn't need a computer. For example, if I have to write an essay about the Cold War, then that does not need a computer. If I have to do 10 math questions, then that does not need a computer too. So most of the homework that you have will fit into this category, except for a few exceptions. For example, if you have a coding project, or if you have to make a slideshow. But anyways, my point is to try to finish the homework that doesn't need a computer before you even get home, so that when you get home, you don't have to waste time doing all of these other work that could be done somewhere else. Now you may be saying, okay, how do I finish my homework without even being home? This leads me to my next tip, which is to make more time. You have a lot more time than you think. Maybe you have that boring half an hour class where the teacher doesn't really teach anything, or you have 20 minutes on your train traveling back home, or you may reach school 10 minutes early. What I'm trying to say is there's a lot of small time gaps that you have throughout your day. And the mistake that most people make is they think that they need a big 1 hour block of time to do their homework. Honestly, you can get such a massive amount of work done in these short time gaps that you have throughout your day. If you have 20 minutes on your train, what is stopping you from doing your math homework? You have your calculator app on your phone, you have your pen and notebook, there's nothing stopping you. I'm able to finish 70% of the assignments that I have in these short time periods. For example, if I'm on the train, I can just whip out my phone and type in a few sentences for my essay. So my point is to use these small time gaps that you have wisely, because so much work can be done in these periods. I understand that this may be very difficult for some of you. For example, if your journey back home is very bumpy and you can't write anything down or you can't look at your phone, but that's okay. This leads me to the next thing that you could be doing. There's a study that shows that if you imagine yourself shooting a free throw in basketball and you imagine it over and over again, your performance in the real game will actually be better. So in these small time gaps that you have, if you really aren't able to finish your homework, then at least walk yourself through some questions or some topics. For example, if you're studying differentiation in maths, walk yourself through how you would approach the question. What's the first thing that you need to do? What's the formula for differentiation? Or if you're studying biology and you're learning about respiration, then walk yourself through all the different processes of respiration. Walk yourself through the Krebs cycle. Try to think of all the molecules that are involved. By simply walking through the topic mentally, you can remember a lot more and boost your performance. If you really want to become the top student, then the type of content you consume also has a huge effect. So in your free time, try to watch a few bizarre and entertaining videos on your topic. They don't have to be educational videos like walking through practice questions. But my point is, our brain loves unusual and bizarre things. So by watching these types of content about our topic, you'll be more engaged and you'll be able to look at your topic from a different point of view. For example, if you want to get better at maths, you can try watching some of 3 Blue 1 Brown videos, or you can watch a few fun statistic videos. So that was a lot of things that I just shared, and we haven't even gotten to the 1 hour that you have at home. But I just want to let you know that there's no secret thing that students do to become the top 1%. It's all of these little things combined together to make one big thing, and that leads to results. So if you already do all of these things, then I can guarantee you that you don't even need that 1 hour to study at home. You are already better than 90% of students. But since you clicked on this video, I will continue sharing some life-changing tips with you about what to do in that 1 hour that you have at home. So let's get right back into the video. The biggest tip that I have to share is to plan what you'll be studying before you even reach home. So this is what most students do when they plan for what they're going to do at home. They will say to themselves, when I go home, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to talk with friends a bit, and I will do some maths. And the problem with this is maths is such a big thing. And when your 1 hour of revision comes, you don't know where to start. You're gonna be like, oh, I have to go get my textbook, which is in another room. Okay, now that I have my textbook, where do I even begin? Do I just read? There's so many topics here. So there's a lot of friction that prevents you from getting started if you don't plan ahead. And the cool thing is, planning only takes a few seconds. For example, before you get home, you can tell yourself, I will be doing 5 very challenging questions about vectors, and I will try my best to truly understand every part of the question. So now once that 1 hour comes, you know exactly what you need to do. You need to go online and search for questions about vectors, and there's barely any friction stopping you. So to sum it up, plan what you'll be studying. Don't just say chemistry or biology, but actually plan what topic and what questions you will do. So in that precious 1 hour that you have, you should be doing something called deep work. Deep work is when there's absolutely no distractions around and it's just you and the work. It's 100% pure focus between you and the work. You're not in a voice call with your friends who are doing something else. You don't have the TV turned on in the background. It is just you and the work. I hear so many people say that they study 4 hours every day. What they're doing is they're scrolling through Instagram while doing their work. They're on a call with their friends. They're watching irrelevant YouTube videos every now and then. And there's just a lot of distractions along the way. So that's something you have to completely cut out if you want to make the most of your 1 hour. If you actually want to remember what you learned, then it's important to know the difference between the 2 types of learning. There's learning for the sake of learning, and there's learning for the sake of solving a problem. If you read a book about how to play the guitar, but you don't even have a guitar, then that's learning for the sake of learning. And I can guarantee you that you will forget most of what you learned a few hours later. But if you try playing the guitar and you face a few problems along the way, for example, the chord that you're playing doesn't sound right. If you open the textbook about guitar, then immediately you'll start trying to find solutions for your problem. And I can guarantee you that once you find your answer, you will remember it for a lifetime. The exact same thing can be applied with studying. If you simply open your textbook without even knowing what the whole thing is about, without having a problem in the first place, and you just read through your textbook page by page, then I can guarantee you that you're just wasting your time. What you need to be doing instead is to jump straight to practice questions. And as you're doing practice questions, you're gonna find lots of problems along the way. And once you have these problems, now is the time to go to other resources to try to find the solution. So this way, when you're reading a textbook or you're watching a YouTube video, it's actually for the purpose of solving a problem that you already have. So the new information that you take in, you will be able to remember it for a lifetime. I have a video explaining this in detail, so if you want to check it out, link is in the description. If you want to save even more time in doing practice questions, then it is time to use Pareto's principle. So Pareto's principle, or the famous 80-20 rule, says that 80% of the practice questions you do leads to 20% of your results. And on the other hand, 20% of the questions that you do leads to 80% of your results. So instead of doing every question that you come across, if you want to save time, it is important that you find that 20% of questions that leads to 80% of results. So before you do each question, ask yourself, what will I gain from this? Is this question really worth my time? Do I already know what it's trying to ask me? If you're able to mentally walk through most of the question, then I suggest you completely skip it. This way you'll be able to filter out about 80% of questions until you only have the worthy 20%. And that is where you put your maximum effort into. So that is almost everything that I do that allows me to become the top 1% student with very limited time available. If this video has helped you in any way, then please consider subscribing to my channel because we're trying to reach 350 subscribers as fast as we can.